going to be looking at Feedback Studio, which is the assignment annotation tool available to us in Turnitin. In the video, we're going to look at all types of feedback available through the system, but that's not to say that you will see every type of feedback every time you submit a piece of work. So it may be that you see one or two elements of what I'm going to show you in this video. So first things first, how do we access Feedback Studio? How do we see that feedback? So what we do is we click on the assignment that we've submitted to, and that's going to take us in, and that's going to give us a summary of our work. And if you've submitted before, you will be familiar with the fact that our grade appears down here, and you'll be used to seeing feedback files appear here as well. But when we use Turnitin Feedback Studio, they are held within Turnitin themselves, so we access that in a similar way to how we access our similarity report, and that is through one of the icons that is presented below our document here. So you'll be familiar with the percentage score that takes you to the similarity report, and you may have seen these 8 little squares before, which is a rubric. So if there's a rubric attached to your assignment, you're able to view that at any point the assignment is open by clicking on it, and it takes you through and it shows you what you're being marked against. What we're looking for is this pen icon in the middle, and you can see when I hover over that, it loads a little tab that says grade mark, and grade mark is the part of Feedback Studio that allows us to annotate and mark our students' work. So if we click on that, it's going to take us in to Turnitin, and it's going to load us into a view that looks very similar to the view that you would have seen if you've ever come in and looked at your originality report. And in fact, actually, your originality report is going to be available as well as all the feedback. So you can see we've got feedback here, and then those first 2 lines are highlighted through our originality report, and we can tell this by these little number tabs here. If we want to just see our feedback, if we want to turn the originality report off, we can do that by hovering over this little red tab, and you can see it says hide similarity layer, and if we click on that, the tab will go black and all of that information disappears, so we're left just with the feedback that our lecturer or marker has given us. So there are 2 types of kind of areas of feedback in Turnitin. There is the on the document annotation, which we can see here in various forms, and I'll talk through those in a second. And then we've got what's known as the instructor feedback tab, and that's where we can access our 3 types of feedback that act as a summary to the entire piece of work. So we've got our rubric. So whereas during the assignment process where we're getting ready to submit our work, we can see a rubric that we're being marked against. If the rubric is used as a marking tool by your lecturer, you can view the rubric at this stage, and it will show you how you've been marked against that rubric. So again, loads in a new tab, and we're going to see a breakdown of the rubric. So this is a very kind of basic rubric. So we've got a scale across the top of awarded different marks, and then we've got criterion down the side, and you can see, like for 1A, I got the maximum marks for that. I got the scale 2 marks for 1B, and so on down through the rubric. And what we'll see as we get down to 2D is that we've got a small speech bubble with the number 1 in it, and if we click on that, we can see that there is a comment on the main page called title test, which relates to this section of the rubric. So it can be linked in, so you could see a quick mark or a comment on your document, like this title one. This is the one that refers to, and you can see here it's got the speech bubble, and then on the actual page it's got the rubric icon that we saw earlier, and that shows that they're linked. So you could see that title, see that it's linked to the rubric, and then come back to the rubric and find the section that it relates to, and then you can see how your kind of grades have been decided. So that is all the information around the rubrics, so we can close that. And then what we will also see is that markers are able to leave voice comments. And so if you see the voice comment here and you see that there's an amount of time in this section and there's a play icon here, there is a voice comment. So if I click play now, this is an example of audio feedback. So you may get this on top of or instead of any text feedback, and you can see that we can pause that when we want to think about what's being said or we need to stop it for whatever reason, and then we can click play. And you can access it by clicking the play button shown here, and you can listen to that as many times as you want. You can drag it back to different points of the video if you need. And then the final set of feedback in this instructor feedback view is a text comment, and so I've just got a body of text here, so that will be related to the piece of work as a whole, and this may also include hyperlinks and that jump off to other bits of resources and information. So that in and of itself is the kind of overview feedback, if you will, for the piece of work. So if we close that down, we can see the whole document here, and we can see the 4 types of feedback that are available as annotations within the document itself, and these can be dotted throughout the whole of the piece of work. So in this example, I've just got them at the top of the page, and it's quite a short piece of work anyway, but if you had a multi-page document, these comments and feedback could appear all the way through, so do be careful to make sure you don't miss any as you're scrolling through. So the first one that I wanted to look at is the strike through. So if you have added stuff that possibly isn't required for the essay, the marker can highlight that and strike through, and then they can use the inline text to tell you why they've struck through that piece of work, or they can use the inline text to add information around a certain part of your work. So that sits there, and if it's in your way, you can move it around if you need to by hovering over it until you get the 4-headed arrow and just move it to an easier place for you to see. The next thing I want to talk about is something called quick marks. So quick marks are small sections of information, such as this add quotation ones. If we click on that there, you can see that this explains kind of what we would like to see in this bit of work, and this one is an example of a Turnitin quick mark. So these are ones that are set up through Turnitin that will cover very common kind of issues with essay writing, so add quotations, spelling and grammar and so on, and your lecturers and markers can use these as a way to quickly give you extra information as they go through the marking thing. So this one is just, it's in its entirety is the one that's set up by Turnitin. They are able to add an additional personalized comment underneath the quick mark if they want to, and this one is sitting just in a general area on the essay, but you're also able to, if we look at this comment, we're also able to link it to specific parts of the text. So if you see a highlighted part of the text with a comment near it and a connector, this comment is going to relate to that, and then if we click on that, we can see, make sure this is referenced properly, and that's the comment as such. The last quick mark I want to show you is this title one. So this is a title one that I've created, and I've just called it test, but you can see that as well as the rubrics icon in the quick mark, we can see here the icon again and the part of the rubric that it references. So that's that 2D, that one that we looked at earlier. And so what you would expect to see is these build up through the document, adding more information to your feedback. The other things that you're able to see on this page is down the bottom, of course, is your word count and page count, and if you needed to, you can download a version of the report with all the feedback by clicking on the download button here and then clicking on the current view to initiate a PDF download.